Recorder joined.
Okay, so we're all in agreement that Jennifer Wayman then should, we agree to allow that $100,000 donation from Hager Sharp as an unrestricted educational grant? Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Aye.
Now that she's sitting on top of the big bucks, huh?
Yeah, that's real. I just think it's wonderful that, Jennifer's it's just great. I think we should all thank Jennifer, and we should move on to the meeting, okay, as she's dialing in, I'm sure. Okay, well, without further ado, I will then now call the meeting to order. And we have a quorum. Well, we're not voting, so it doesn't matter. And we'd like at this point to first welcome Dr. Cheryl Leo, who's our new representative for the Australian Association of Social Marketing.
Thank you.
And is the AASM secretary. Cheryl got her PhD from Queensland University of Technology in 2011. And for those of you who don't know, her let's see, the people who were sponsoring her PhD, or is that not sponsoring, but I would say who were overseeing her PhD, included Rebecca Russell Bennett and Judy Drennan. Right, yep. Cheryl?
Indeed, yes.
Mm-hmm. And for those who didn't hear this, her commitment to us is evidenced by the fact that it's 1 a.m. her time, joining us in the middle of the night. And we can only assume she will, when she returns to bed and goes to sleep, she'll have nightmares. But
I think I can cope better than the 5 a.m. wake up time.
Okay. All right. So Jennifer, is Jennifer on the line yet? Can you hear us yet? Jennifer? Tom, I'm sure you have a hotline to Jennifer.
I used to. I would lean out the door and say, Jennifer.
Okay. All right. She may be having trouble calling in as well. You sent, if you'll hold on just a moment, I'm going to try just a second something, make life very easy here, and no, she's there. She is. She's calling in right now. That's good.
Jennifer Wayman.
Okay.
Joined.
So all in favor of giving a vote of thanks to Hager Sharp for their $100,000 unrestricted educational grant, say hi.
Aye.
Very funny.
Aye.
Okay.
Very
all opposed?
funny.
That joke never gets
I
old.
told them you're into the big bucks now, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, all opposed? Okay, so it's unanimous. This is being recorded. Thank you very much. Okay, so we're going to, those of you who are on this call should know that we have sent out an agenda. It is a packed agenda. We will try to go through it as efficiently as possible as we move through. But seeing that it's now 13 minutes after the hour, we're going to try to move as quickly as possible. So we will read and approve the meeting agenda. We'll vote to approve the minutes. We'll talk about, just discuss or question any of the submitted reports. They will not be written or read out. They will be, you already have them written. Then we will get into our association business and our top priority projects and all our other priority projects. Finally, other business. We'll quickly discuss future board calls and adjournment. Move for this agenda to be adopted without change. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
One no? Was that one no?
No.
Okay, no no's. Okay.
Which is a double negative.
All right, and hopefully we can be equally efficient in capturing any feedback on the minutes from our August meeting. Just a reminder, we had agreed several months ago in view of the need to hold 2 calls in order to capture everyone, that we were going to move away from detailed minutes and instead focus on capturing actions to be taken or decisions to be made. So the August minutes are short. They were shared with you previously. So much of the discussion was centered in a rich dialogue and exchange about ideas about what should be our priorities going forward. There were not a lot of actions beyond acting on setting those priorities and a few other things. So if there are any questions or additions or corrections to the minutes, I would welcome them. Otherwise, if we could approve them, that would be great. Any questions? Okay. I move that we approve the minutes as drafted. All in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? See, Jennifer, I can move through things more quickly. Thank you very much.
So moved. Cheryl and Bijou, I encourage you to listen to the discussions that we had in August. We sent out a notice in our, of where you can listen to the recordings. Cheryl, that'll give you a good idea of what our thoughts are, our vision, our mission, and what we think is important. I think it'd be very.
I'll just try to get myself into it a little bit and just see what I can do. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, the membership and affiliations report was given. We, as was the communications and the volunteer coordination, AASM and iSMA reports were already submitted. Was there any questions on them? For those of you who aren't familiar with the way that we work in these particular meetings, because we have such a diversity of time frames, we send out the reports, and you have to be at one of 2 meetings. We hold the same meeting twice. Jay and Gail were on in the meeting yesterday, and there were not a lot of questions, but we have any information if you have any questions about the.
And just to correct the record so people aren't scratching their head, I don't think we received or shared any formal reports from either AASM or iSMA. There have been snippets of information, things that are happening among and within both, but I don't think there was any formal report submitted for the board's review.
Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and we do have the secretary from AASM here as well.
Has Judy been representing AASM? Am I right?
She has been representing AASM, but since she is an elected at-large person, AASM had the option of appointing a board member to represent AASM, and you've done that. They've done that. So Judy is now also she's representing at large as an elected person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Glad to know.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. This is Emily Sanford. Sorry for joining late.
Oh, yeah, and Emily, we want to thank you for your generous donation of unrestricted educational grants. Thank you very much.
No problem. That's the least I could do.
In fact, Emily and Nancy Lee have elected to financially support the full operation of iSMA over the next year. Right, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely.
So are there any questions about the submitted reports or any questions that you have for AASM or iSMA at this time?
What exactly do you need in the report?
Just a brief report of what activities you've had would be helpful for us. Yes, that's all we need.
Just a brief summary, basically.
And anything you think would be relevant for iSMA, if you have feedback for us, would be wonderful.
Okay.
I know we have one question, for example, from to David, and he said he would present that at the board meeting, and here we are. David, you were going to give us an update on the iSMA affiliation status. David?
Yeah. So we reviewed that at our last meeting, which was last week, and so we reviewed the agreement that iSMA has with ASMA, and almost except for a few middling bits where we'd like a bit more information, we're largely quite happy with it where it is. And in fact, we're probably leaning toward even those little middling bits, not wanting to change what you guys have in association with ASMA, just because we don't want to complicate things really. And so, yes, we're interested in principle, and I suppose all that happens now is I suppose I'd like to work behind the scenes with maybe someone from iSMA to make this happen. So no need to make a decision or a vote on this at the moment, but if there's someone from iSMA that I can work with to get something together that perhaps we could vote on at the next meeting, that would be great.
Great, David. That would be Jay Kassir. So, and I think you've been in touch with Jay, so if you'll just follow up with him, that will be great. Which gives me
the plan will be to try and get something ready for our next meeting to vote on.
Okay, so based on what you're saying, then, Cheryl, you should also know that we've been waiting to hear from ESMA, and since it looks like there's nothing in substance that's going to be changed, then we'll be following up with Ross Gordon to re-up, or to not renegotiate, but just to continue with our relationship with AASM and renew that relationship.
That was my understanding. Yeah, that was my understanding from the previous meeting, that we will continue at least in the short term and see and have a bit of a review about it later. But the members are getting a lot of benefit from a lot of the webinars especially. So we are very happy to carry on with that. But of course, Ross will make the final formal decision on that.
Okay.
And when it probably is wise to acknowledge this, the details of this are included in Jay's report under membership and affiliations. But there has started to be periodic phone calls, conference calls involving both the Australian Association, the European Association, and iSMA in order to forge common purpose and map plans and address shared issues and concerns. So that the start of those calls, which I believe might have been in September, when and a follow-on call I believe is scheduled for early 2016, is a sure sign of progress in terms of fostering collaboration and partnership.
Yes, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. We don't have anything to report out of that just yet for the board, but we are having, I think, we did have a real meaningful conversation among ourselves. It was educational, I think, for all of us. So without further ado, then, can we, I guess we've accepted the reports. We don't formally accept the reports anyway. So then we're moving on to association business. And yesterday when we went over this, there was some confusion. So Tom, with your permission, can I just give a quick introduction, or would you like to do it?
And you're sort of, you've switched the graphic on me, and I'm looking at it for the first time. I'll be happy to take the cues from your lead on this.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, what we're going to be talking about is voting for officers, the need for the board of iSMA to vote for its officers, and secondly, and it's for the iSMA to hold elections in 2016 for new board members. To give you a quick overview on this, you'll see in front of you a chart, and that chart indicates who the current board members are Cheryl, you'll see that you don't have any blue or red on you right now, but there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in just a moment.
Where's the chart?
Do we have to determine if she's a blue state or a red state?
We do. And who says they're not on there? David, you should be on there.
Yeah.
Oh, that is my bad, David. Okay, I had you on there.
Okay. We put you on there last night.
Yeah, I swear I've seen that before. Or something similar, anyway.
Sorry,
Okay.
where is this chart?
So what this chart is this is a chart of the current directors of iSMA,
right.
and David McElroy should be on there, and he's not. Sorry, David.
Right.
Cheryl's on there, but we don't have a line next to her. There's a reason. The reason for that will become clear in just a moment. If it is a red line, it means that board member was appointed.
Ah, right. Okay.
If it is a blue line, it means that member was elected at large by our membership. Okay.
Yep.
What you'll see at the beginning goes back to 2010. Tom and Craig and Wynn and Gail were appointed to the board. We appointed ourselves because we were just founded that. Jay and Nancy were also appointed to the board at the very beginning, and you can see that. And then we didn't start holding elections until 2013 because we were getting ourselves off of the ground. So we had our first round of elections in 2013, and then we had 2004, and then we had 2000. Did we have 2014? I think we did actually, and then we had 2015. I think Doug was no, in 2014. What we had appointments to the board, and then we had late 2014 elections, and they started their term in 2015. I think is what's going on here. So what you have is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members that were elected by the whole membership, and then you have the old guard: Tom, Craig, Wynn, Gail, Jay, and Nancy. And then you have regional representatives: Claire, Huda, Nidra, and there also should be David and Cheryl there. And I think David, you started in 2015, didn't you? David?
Yeah, I did only my second poll.
Right.
I'm here.
Yep.
Okay, so you started in 2000. So let's say 2015. I'm just going here.
Yeah, this is only my second call. Sorry, I'm not sure if you heard me a moment ago.
Right. Okay. So then basically what we can do is we can put little check marks here if it's a 4-year term. Right. Well, okay. And don't ask me to write in, David, because I can't. Okay. All right. We have 22. We can have up to 22 members on the board. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Now, the old guard made a decision back in 2012 that they did not want to stay on the board and continue indefinitely, and so they decided that they would just rotate themselves off the board over a period of 3 years. Now, the first group is already rotated off. Our second group is ready to rotate off this year, and our third group rotates off next year, third group being Jay and Nancy. Okay? Now, there is also, just so you know, Wynn Morgan, who's currently the president, and that is I, also has been acting as the chief executive officer for the association. Both president and chief executive officer are currently unpaid volunteer positions. Now, Wynn Morgan has said that He is willing to stay on as Chief Executive Officer until the new board elects, or the officers elect a new one or appoint a new Chief Executive Officer, so that there can be a clear and smooth transfer of all information, accounts, and everything when that happens. But all of us, Tom, Craig, Wynn, and Gail, have said that it's time for us to step down from our officer positions and also to step down from our chairperson positions. That leaves open the positions of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer, as well as the communication committee chair. Okay. Gail will be stepping down from the board this year and does not plan to serve as committee chairperson. Tom, Craig, Wynn, and Gail may or may not run for election for the board in 2016. I think, Craig, you're taking a year off. Is that correct? At least.
Right, most likely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wynn will most probably not run for election in 2016, so he can clear the slate for new people coming in. And Tom, if nominated, you will run for election. If elected, you will serve as a board of directors member, but not as an officer. Is that correct?
Yes, I would join you in wanting to see a new crop of leaders. I would be happy, if nominated and elected, to remain on the board, but preferred not to continue serving as an officer for now. I think we would all do well by new and vital enthusiasm and leadership.
Mm-hmm. So that's our way of saying to you that we are just giving the opportunity to our new group of board members, both elected and appointed, to take leadership positions and to guide the iSMA for the coming years. We think it's only healthy for you to do that, but we're also saying that we're not running away. We will have, Wynn will be there as a CEO for a good transition and to provide you with support that you need as you're finding your way in your new leadership positions. That being said, then, Tom.
All right. Thank you for the setup, Wynn, and for providing those details. When we had this discussion with the group that talked last evening, one of the issues that was flagged for us was concern about the specifics of terms and the intention of current officers in terms of staying on the board and in those roles or not. So hence why Wynn just walked us through that chart that I hope laid out sort of the factual basis for the issues we have before us. With regard to the election of new officers, we initially had a discussion of the need to do that with the board. I believe it started in May and was picked up again in August. And given the large number of new or relatively new people on the board, it was agreed that we would continue with the current officers through this call, through this November call. But the need is present now for us to decide how we want to move ahead with the nomination and election of new officers. In September, Wynn sent an email to the full board laying out our need to elect new officers and soliciting self-nominations or nominations from among the board for leadership positions going forward. Perhaps because people are shy and hesitant and unclear, there hasn't been no hats have been thrown into the ring. And as part of the preparation for this call, I once again invited people to nominate themselves and everyone was a little too shy or hesitant to do that. So the issue on the table we would welcome if there are any people who are not shy and who are bold enough to throw their hat into the ring for consideration. Here's your opportunity to do that. Don't all speak at once. In the absence of that, what netted out of yesterday's call, and I'll offer it up to you for consideration, since people are hesitant to raise their hand and say, elect me, the proposal was that we decide through this call, or these calls, I should say, the November calls, who will chair the nomination and election committee. That the chair has historically been Jeff French, and he's done a superb job, but he is no longer on the board. And the notion was that we would elect a nomination and election committee chair who in turn would work with the current officers and the board on a one-on-one basis to try to frame a slate of candidates that would then be offered up to the board for consideration and election. Our thought was maybe having individual conversations and private conversations and sort of nudging people to consider being nominated might be a more fruitful way to go to wrestle this issue of a new slate of officers to the ground. So that's the proposal. Is there a response? Good idea, bad idea?
Good idea, I think. Did you?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay. All right. I'm glad to hear that. The current officers are eager and enthusiastic about working with each of you to present and to elect a new slate of officers, and that will be our priority coming out of this meeting to reconnect with the to-be-named election committee chair and work this through in a timely fashion. And as the second part is, as Wynn pointed out, some number of us will come off the board completely as of the end of the year, thereby creating vacancies on the board. And also, as Wynn indicated, the board has the capability in the bylaws to elect up to 22 members. I'm not recommending that that's desirable. In fact, last night's conversation indicated support for keeping the board at about its current size, but we do need to provide for the annual election of either new or continuing board members whose terms are up as early as possible in 2016. Again, that's in accord with the bylaws of the organization. Is there anyone on this call who even tentatively would raise their hand and be open to stepping into those big shoes that Jeff French wore as the election and nomination chair? Cheryl, thank you very much.
Well, we just did the election for AASM actually, and we had more nominations than we had the existing positions that were actually out for nominations. So it was quite an interesting process because all this while we've never had an election before. So, yeah.
Well, maybe we need to tap your experience, your recent experience. I'm pulling your leg.
It was quite nice because a lot of them tend to just email after it's been sent out to the members. They tend to email me separately just to ask about more information. So that kind of that underneath conversation actually really helped that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, feel free to email me or Craig or Tom, any of you who want more information.
Okay. Well, our proposal to the board is we'll move quickly to work with you on the slate of new officers, and then with the new officers and with the new to be determined head of the nomination election committee to work with you to plan for board elections in early 2016.
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys have people in mind already, like who to ask to nominate?
I don't know that we do. I think our intent was to open the door and say who's interested. I think our point of view is that anyone on the board is qualified and appropriate to be considered, but we thought to give people the opportunity to say, I'd like to do that, and I have time,
right.
and my busy schedule. I'm sure everyone is enormously overextended, but we thought to start with giving people the opportunity, and now that we've done that and haven't moved very far, to be more direct and to be more personalized in outreach in it.
Right.
And I think Craig and Tom and I share the opinion that anyone who's currently on the board would serve well in any of those positions, those officer positions.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, certainly access to me, I'll just speak for myself, to kind of get up to speed and get guided through the process. It's understandably going to be new for anyone who takes any of these slots.
And, and same for me. I think all of us are saying, look, you guys, it's really important that you start working this out by yourself rather than us coming in and trying to create a legacy appointment. We are very happy with the board that's been created, and we think any one of you could step up and take leadership roles, I think, is what we're saying in long and short.
Okay, well, our intent to move this forward and to work with you to resolve it and address it in ways that work best for you as individuals and for the entire board. So you will be hearing from us, and in the interest of all of the things we're trying to cover in this meeting, why don't we move on to the fundraising and development call. And again, as Wynn indicated, if anyone has any private inquiries or thoughts that they want to share about the election of officers, please share them with Wynn, Craig, or me in order that we can help move this forward.
Mm-hmm. And the third thing, which is really important for association business, is making sure that we have enough money as we move forward to continue operations. We've been working since 2010 on some generous donations and then some membership fees, which have been very, very small. For standard members, it's been $49.95. If you're in the developed country, $4.95 if you're in a developing country, and half that for each of those if you're in a developing country. That is $4.95, $2.95 for students, $29.95 for developed country students. Okay, those of you who are in iSMA or AASM, it's even a smaller rate, and we're just in the midst of also bringing in other affiliates from places where there is not a national or regional organization at similar rates. That's not going to pay the bills for all the wonderful things that we want to do. So how do we raise funds? What should be our model was the question that we're bringing up.
Well, now that Jennifer has paved the way with her $100,000 donation from Hager Sharp, I think a pace has been set.
But in all seriousness,
maybe you should match that investment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tom's going to have Ogilvy match that, I think. Even though he doesn't work with Ogilvy.
Tom's out of Ogilvy, so good luck.
But seriously, now let's get down to this business. We as an organization originally said that we would not hold conferences to raise money because we did not want to compete with the Australian Social Marketing Association or with Jeff French's group with the World Social Marketing Conference, right? Or in North America with the University of Southern Florida conference. So we thought that we would piggyback and work with them rather than compete. So that secondly, we made the decision to keep our subscription or our membership costs very low so that would not be a barrier to entry, especially while we were trying to build up features that would be of value to members in the future. And then as we've grown as an organization, yes, I agree. Then as we've grown as an organization, we have taken on some projects which are going to cost more than we're bringing in to be able to support. Those projects include the webinar series, a proposed revamping of our website, a proposed redevelopment of our resource exchange library, and then we have several other things that we're trying to build up. We have our job board, for example. None of those has been successfully monetized at this point. And so our question to the board is, what should be our fundraising model? I'd like to turn it over at this point to Craig, who's had some ideas yesterday and would like to share some ideas today. Craig?
Okay, thanks, Wynn. Well, first of all, part of the discussion last night was that Wynn and I at various times have been talking to some potential funding sources, and one of the issues that gets immediately put back on us is that at least the groups and foundations who we talk to do not provide grants for operating costs or other costs associated with running or starting up an organization. That there's clearly the need on their half to look for products, look for services, look for tangible benefits that they can get out of us. So that leads us to be thinking about, if we want to go and have foundation funding, is what's the service or what are the products that we could commit to doing for one or more of these foundations. But as we were talking last night, a lot of conversation got focused on our webinars, which do seem to be bringing in a fairly steady stream of people. And there's also been the desire expressed by a couple of organizations to how can we, the organization, assure that our employees who may be scattered in numerous locations around the country or around the world can sit in and listen to these webinars, or particular ones that are of interest to us. And that led us to start thinking about and talking about, could we develop a corporate subscription model for the webinars that would be perhaps on an annual basis and would allow an organization to have a single passcode, if you will, that any of their employees could use, whether it's from their desktop or from locations around the world, to access the webinar, rather than having to have either every individual become a member of iSMA $49.95 each, or simply rely on trying to make sure that every location has at least one member and that everyone has to congregate in a conference room to watch the webinar, which Jay Kassir was saying seems to happen pretty regularly as well. So out of that conversation came the suggestion that Patrick, Gail, and I picked up on, that perhaps we should conduct a little bit of market research and try and understand whether or not this kind of subscription model would be something that organizations, again, particularly those with a variety of locations and offices, would be interested in doing, and if so, what might be a reasonable cost to ask them to pay for that. So that was the one thing. A second issue that came up during the discussion of, and actually it's in the membership minutes, is the idea of having a webinar or series of webinars or a very long webinar, format to be determined, that would allow organizations that sponsor long-distance learning courses or other opportunities for students to participate in a social marketing degree program or a social marketing certificate program to present their program and answer questions during a worldwide broadcast. And then that led us to also think about, well, is this another opportunity to generate some revenues by focusing on who we might ask to pay for the opportunity either to present or to participate in such a webinar series. And again, being good marketers, that led us to say, well, should we be doing a little market research to see if that's a viable way of doing things? So those were a couple of the ideas that came up around fundraising and development discussions last night. I'd be interested in any reactions to that. And then I'm just going to throw a third one out here, which I didn't get a chance to throw in last night. And what if we went to a crowdsourcing site like Indiegogo or something and actually tried to crowdsource the development of our website, for example?
Comments from the group?
Well, what AASM tends to do in the year in which we don't actually hold a conference is that we tend to have like really small seminars as such, or like workshops to actually generate revenue. The one that was very recent, they lined up a couple of speakers that included Ross Gordon and probably about 30 to 40 participants. So each paying about $500, $300 to $500 each. So that generated quite a little bit of income just from one day.
How long? That's just a one-day conference?
Yeah,
or
it's not really. It's more like a workshop. Yeah, just a one-day workshop, and they pay. That includes their own catering and food, and you get a university to actually provide the venue. So this one was actually held in Melbourne, and the university, the host university, was in the city. So it made it very easy for people to actually attend the workshop.
What were the workshops on specifically?
Different areas. So some was on different cases. Then there was also, Ross also talked about generally where social marketing was heading. How can you apply some of these new thoughts in social marketing? So you could basically find a team and see what really interests the audience you're trying to target. So that was one way we tend to work with if it was the off year of our conference, which is actually every 2 years.
Do you have a sense of who those attracted, who actually attended those and paid for them?
Sorry?
Do you have a sense of who was attracted and paid to participate in those?
government agencies, some social media agencies who dealt with social marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just important to get at because there's always this default with a lot of the conversations we have about monetizing that if we can't have a person working on the front lines of public health able to afford these things, then maybe we shouldn't do it.
Yes, it is very time intensive because it did fall back on like two of our committee members who were on the board to actually organize that event. And they were actually situated in Melbourne. So yes, it's very labor intensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One idea which when Craig was talking about actually digitizing a lot of this information, I recently had one of the dean's meetings. They were talking about how they wanted to actually outsource research training to students because our students are not very well trained in particular ways to only one or two universities in Australia. So all students actually only go to that two universities for very short periods to get trained in terms of their research skills. So if you're able to provide some form of video or digitized training or lessons for anyone who wanted to be upskilled in a particular way, I wonder if you could capitalize on that, given that you've got a very well-established webinar.
So it seems the main assets that we have at the moment that we can sell are is the expertise of the board members themselves, and that's sort of reflected by how the webinars are quite popular and how the sorts of events that you're describing there are quite popular. So maybe we just need to think about how we can better spread the reach of our webinars, or whether we want to try and start having those webinars. So not only does someone do a webinar, they also try and do a live event as well, or something. A ticketed event or something. Like spread the reach of it rather than having more events, but spread the reach of the events we do have.
Yeah, I think the webinar is a very good tool because you're able to digitalize a lot of content. So it might go back to what Craig is talking about in terms of, do you actually restrict access in some ways?
Yeah, I really liked what Craig was saying about potentially having organizational subscriptions. So if you've got quite a big organization, that might sign up to all of them for a cut-rate price or something. Because I can sort of see that being of interest to my organization, for instance, except we'd only be sort of interested in sustainability stuff, whereas finding organizations that would be interested in social marketing, irrespective of the thing that's being talked about, might be a bit more difficult.
What do people think about the idea of having a project where we have like a project or an initiative that will contribute to the social marketing community in general, or to a particular group that social marketers that can help in particular, and looking for funding for that particular thing?
Like a sort of, so say there's a webinar series that's all on air pollution or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, the projects that were on, in my mind, for example, the one that comes to mind is the building of a resource exchange, where you'd have a library of materials that were available, and you wouldn't charge for them, but you would get funding from an organization to build it, and then you wouldn't charge for a year, or during the project time, and then later on you could charge, after the initial project funding runs out. I mean, you all. I mean, I know, that, for example, Johns Hopkins University Center for Communication Programs has funding for their Knowledge for Health, K for Health media and materials collection online. Other folks get sponsorships for that as well. So instead of charging the end user, you're getting funding for the project as a nonprofit.
Mm.
And the way I'm thinking of it is, you could actually then include staff in the project proposal, so that it would be under the auspices of the iSMA, but there would be staff on that particular project, right?
Mm.
I think one idea that could, sorry, this is Biju speaking. One idea that could actually go along with it, or could be independent, could be, is there a market for case studies? And given again, I think the point that Conrad David mentioned, that we use the expertise of the director, the board of directors, and I'm sure each of those directors could actually go on to write a case study or two. And if they're published and people want to actually download that, we actually put a certain fee for it. And people should be willing to possibly pay for it, provided those case studies are interesting.
Mm. What if following on from that, rather than having particular content where we predict what people want and produce content and then sort of make that library available, when it might be more efficient for someone, rather than coming to us, to go to Google or Google Scholar or something to find a lot of these things out for themselves. We kind of make ourselves a bit more available through our website, sort of a link for, journalists, for comment on social marketing issues. Please contact us through here. If you're an organization that is looking for an expert sort of consultant, so it's only quite high level stuff that doesn't require huge input from the board members, but say if we charge a fee for advice, and then part of that might go to the board member that puts up their hand or whatever. I don't know how it might work.
David, and this is Tom. I like that idea a great deal. I'm all for trying to raise funds to support the development of information resources and tools. But I suspect that many organizations, given how easy it is to access information for little or no charge, would be more willing to pay handsomely for more personalized expert consultation and assistance that isn't what they might capture from a database, but is specific to their needs at a moment in time.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be really focused stuff. I mean, we could, offer it at like a lawyer's rate or something, you know what I mean, where people might only want you for an hour or something, and it could just be for a meeting, so you don't even have to produce anything, but you just turn up and give your professional opinion for an hour.
Yeah. Well, let me ask the people. Craig, would you, hearing something like that, if we asked you to spend an hour with a client on behalf of iSMA, is that something that you would do?
Yeah, I think I would do it. I'm sitting here thinking, though, about what the perception would be of people who aren't on the board, who kind of might see this as lead generation for people who are on the board versus people who aren't. That is
I couldn't quite
1 hour consultation. I said, I'm wondering if people who aren't on the board would look at this as kind of a business opportunity that board members are engaging in.
Well, the good news is you're not going to be on the board next year, Craig.
Well, that okay.
We
well,
also might get a lot more people nominating themselves for those roles.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that while there is a potential downside in terms of how other consultants might view this, there is the upside. It makes iSMA more relevant and more desirable to be associated with, because it's at least potentially, theoretically, a source of business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
well,
we
I
could
mean,
put,
if
you
you,
know, we
if you,
could put
if
lots
you
of
structure it
pro bono
that
stuff
way, it
in.
would make some sense. I think,
I
and then
mean,
you give
and we could
people
also
maybe a
have.
week or two.
Sorry.
Okay, so
You go,
you
you
both
go.
of you had great comments. Who's going first? That would be Craig and then David.
Craig. Yeah.
No, I'm going to say if we structure it like that any iSMA member can raise their hand to be one of these experts, and we just set up a calendar where, you know, depending how many experts we have over the next 6 months or a year, everyone gets, you know, a week or whatever it turns out to be the coverage, checking the emails, making sure that any requests are being handled quickly. You know, that potentially could work.
So kind of ask me anything, consult. Yeah, we have that now, and a lot of people join because they think they're going to be networked with people like Huda Khayyam or Emily Sanford, or you know, even Cheryl Leo, but then they don't know how. There's no real introduction. So many of them are still shy to try to reach out to these people. I like that idea of having like a meet and greet or an ask me anything type thing.
There are a lot of legal and accounting services now that make it just a very standardized package where you can just communicate with these professionals just totally online. I find that a bit fascinating for a professional service. So I wonder if rather than having something that customized, if it comes through your end, you're able to distribute that to somebody who might have particular expertise.
Come again, please. Distribute. You mean that we?
So
would...
you know, some websites they actually provide legal services, like a very standardized package that you can totally receive the legal service. You just give them whatever information, they pretty much spit it out and give you whatever you actually need as a legal service. And it's all operated online, and it's just a very, because we always think that, you know, consultants might charge the per hour rate that might be exorbitant, or a lot of lawyers might charge very exorbitant rates as well. But what they are doing is they are simplifying their pricing strategies and just charging a very standard rate, but you don't really know who you're dealing with, which particular lawyers. It's very simplified questions as well, not too complex cases. Yeah. So, I mean, it depends how you want to operationalize it. You want to say, I want to find this person. I want to use Craig today to give me a very customized solution. Or do you want to say, all right, just approach us. We'll find somebody who can solve this issue.
Let me try to take that to a logical conclusion, having done this before. Okay. How about if we just opened up a way that people could ask questions by email to a group of experts and peers, and then they could respond if they wanted to.
Yep.
It's called a listserv.
Yeah, the listserv. And how would the pricing be like? How?
Well, that's the difference. You see, the social marketing listserv right now does this very thing for free. So I'm trying to think about. I mean, the way for us to monetize this, I think, would be by. I think we would need to be very clear on who our experts are, and also where the money was going to. So,
and arguably, Craig, Wen, I'm sorry. Arguably, if we further consider this, we probably want to consider if this is a revenue-generating opportunity, how we share that revenue with the expert. I think creating a win-win, so to speak, where we're not only generating some money for iSMA, but there's some money that goes into the pocket of the expert who's providing the quality guidance and feedback might be a way to incent people to do this and to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to volunteer to follow up with you, Craig, on crowdsourcing. I'd like to test the crowdsourcing idea, if that's okay with the board.
Yeah, that'd be terrific. Yeah, I really think that we should noodle that around a lot more.
Well, I'd like to just do a test project that's really easy to do, if that's okay with the board. And I'll follow up with the board on what it looks like. But I'd be dying to do that.
Okay. I also need to jump off the phone in 5 minutes due to some appointments I have to be keeping with people. So if there's anyone who's interested in either working on the research around a subscription model for organizations to the webinars, or testing the idea of this educational showcase and social marketing webinar idea, make sure you raise your hand sometime during the meeting so Tom or Wayne can let me know, or just send me an email.
Well, yeah, more to the point, I'd like to specifically ask David and Emily and Jennifer. Could you do some informal research with your organizations to see what kinds of products or services that they would be willing to subscribe to as an organization?
Absolutely. Sure. Be willing to do that.
Okay. And can I also ask Claire, could you do that as well with your clients? See if there's anyone who would be interested in that? Like government clients?
Yeah, and we're particularly interested in how much would they be willing to pay.
Yeah.
And Bijou,
$100 a year.
Can I just interject for 1 minute?
Craig, it might be important to note for folks on this call that there was an agreement last night to create, in effect, a product specification sheet, if you will, a short description of what service we're talking about, so that as any one of us goes out and sort of assesses the market interest in a product that we're talking about, the different ones of us are talking about the same product.
Yeah, we would give you a sell sheet, basically, a concept sell sheet.
Yeah, if anybody wants to work on that, that's what Gail and Patrick and I are going to be doing next, is creating that sheet.
Mm-hmm. And in Bijou too, if you check around, India. I mean, I know it's a small continent, but yeah, check around and just nose around and see if like Ashok or there's any organizations who might be interested in something like that. That'd be great. Mm-hmm.
I'll do that.
Okay.
Okay. So thanks everyone, but I need to jump off now.
Okay. Oh.
Hey guys,
and just a reminder, we only have about 45 minutes left and a lot to cover, so we probably need to move with some dispatch here. We are.
So on the website face, our top priority projects are 3, and I'm just going to give you a quick update on where we are with the 3 of them. With the website facelift, we got 3 quotes for upgrading our website. They ran from about $20,000 to $60,000 from Doug's designers and developers, all of which are beyond our ability to pay. So we're in the midst right now of looking at other options. And we have several of them we're looking at, and we're having a meeting next week to try to move this forward, to see what our best options are, and we'll report to the board once we have that information. But we are working on it very hard, so you know. On the Advances webinar, we are booked through May with our speakers, and then we're still going to be looking for speakers after that, but it continues to be popular. And so some of the things we're doing to make the webinar more popular are We have a student in Texas who is working with us to optimize our Google AdWords nonprofit account to feature our webinar series. And we'll know how many people then will be clicking into that webinar series. We'll give you more information as that moves along. And secondly, we have released one of our webinars onto YouTube, and we are tracking to see how many people watch that webinar. It's one from about 6 months ago. It was on, let's see, what was it? It was from Ms. Domagan in Ireland. So we're just checking out to see if YouTube is a viable channel for releasing our webinars. So we can charge people to come into our webinars via YouTube using our Google nonprofit account. And finally, the newsletter is moving ahead quite well. We have 2 new people who have volunteered to help with the newsletter, and the November issue is moving along quite well as we speak right now. Are there any questions about any of those?
In Gail's absence, Gail in last night's call encouraged all board members to think about items they might want to provide or suggest be included in the newsletter. There was, for example, quite a positive response to an opinion piece that Craig authored related to President Obama's executive order about introducing behavioral science content into all federal government programs. And so if there are board members who are eager to author op-eds or write pieces or promote ideas to the communication committee, they welcome it.
And one last thing, just to thank Huda Hayem for our latest Advances webinar, which was a great success. Huda, thank you so much for contributing to our webinar library, and it's quite popular right now. And I mentioned those because those were voted. Cheryl, just so you know, we voted on what should be the top priority projects that we work on, and those were voted the top 3 that which we should be spending our resources on. So the report is basically, those are quite healthy, and we are moving forward on working on those resources. In our other priority projects, which is line 2 of our priority projects, our MPH curriculum push, Nancy is moving forward with that, trying to get a line into the AP, the MPH Curriculum Committee of the United States Public Health Schools Curriculum Group, trying to get a line in for that includes social marketing as a requirement for academic competency. I think the way that she put it yesterday was that every student should know how to create a strategic program plan. So I'm not so sure how that. I don't think the word social marketing were in there.
I think it was when it was a strategic social marketing plan. Well, it was
social marketing.
I think.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Appreciate that. I should have checked your notes. Oh, don't have the notes from yesterday yet. Okay, so and then we just talked about public opinion leadership. We have the opportunity to write op-ed pieces, and if any of you would like to write an opinion. An op-ed piece that we can publish both in the newsletter and online, and then publicize through our Facebook and through our LinkedIn accounts, we'd love to know. Okay, and the person to contact for that is not Craig, but in this case it would be good if you could contact Gail and say you'd be interested in writing a public opinion piece for social marketing.
And Gail, by the way, she's, as Wen indicated earlier, her professional requirements and an expanded job will force her to step out of the communication committee role in short order. She's eager for someone or several people to step into that role. There is an expanded group of volunteers. It's moving along quite well, but she simply must distance herself from it given other requirements. I know she's had conversations with some people on this call, but there's been no resolution of the Communication Committee leadership going forward, and that's a must-do initiative for all of us. So if you're interested, raise your hand or let one of us know.
I'll talk with the people at my organization and see if any of them are interested in contributing to like an op-ed or something.
That would be great. The chairperson of the Communication Committee, by the way, needs to be a board member. It's in the bylaws. So it's either going to be Tom. It can't be Tom. So any of you who would be willing to serve as chairperson, please do let us know, because otherwise the Communication Committee and I think the 10 volunteers that it has will be leaderless, which would be a great blow for us, I think. Social marketing events calendar. If you have not seen the social marketing events calendar lately on the iSMA website, go see it. Do it as soon as possible. The thing is packed with events for social marketers. I mean, we're talking about maybe 100 events coming up. So we really need to promote that more. So in your own circles, let people know about the social marketing events calendar. We are pushing it much more now in our communication. So keep in mind that is a product, not just the webinar, but this calendar also is really a potential product for us, I think, to be, and a feature for us to be selling iSMA. The Standards of Practice white paper series, Tom?
Can I back up just one minute there?
Yeah,
How
sure.
do we add events to the calendar?
You can add them directly if you're a member. You just go and say add. If you have any problems, just contact Jacob.
Okay.
Contact Jacob Sear, and he'll have his volunteer put them up for you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and log in. We have our one-day social marketing conference coming up on December 14th in Seattle.
Brilliant. You might find it's up there already.
I just looked, and I'm surprised to see that it's not. So I will add it now and the link to our page too.
Okay,
Nancy
great.
fell down on the job.
Yeah.
Not. With regard to the Standard of Practice white paper series, this was one of the priority projects that the board voted on. Hamilton was quick to raise his hand to volunteer to be the board leadership on the effort. It really is, I think, part of our thought leadership, public opinion, influence sort of profile. Hamilton, as we all know, regrettably has needed to step down from the board. So the issue on the table is, once again, soliciting a volunteer from across the board to assume leadership on this particular initiative going forward. Any volunteers? All right, and another issue that we will pursue offline.
And and the point of this of asking for volunteers, I mean, I'm putting on my president's hat now, is to help us, keep in mind that there's a lot of things that need to be done, and a lot of things that we think are priority things that need to be done, but without the volunteer resources to do them, or the money to pay people to do them, we really can't do them. So let's just keep in mind what we said were priority projects, both the top ones and other priority projects. And if we can't get to them, just be clear that we're keeping an eye on them and know why we're not getting to them. Okay, it's a resource issue. Now, having said that, I would like to turn us to an issue that it's not an issue, but is an initiative that is under other business that we've been working on for, I think it's been at least 9 months, if not longer. and that is creating a visual hammer and a verbal nail for social marketing. Tom?
Okay. You would have received, as part of the materials to review in preparation for this conference, for this call, an update from Nancy on the current graphic, the proposed graphic for the visual hammer as the suggested tagline, or I think she called it a verbal nail. The canvassing of the board to date shows pretty widespread support for us continuing the progress on this visual hammer. There are some unanswered questions in terms of what we in time will do with it. But the issue before those of you on this call is, do you find the current version of the graphic acceptable? And if we as a board find the direction, the content appropriate, we recognize there then needs to be some follow-on consideration to how we utilize it, how we promote it, how we equip others to use it, what legal protections, if any, that we need to set in place. But the question on the table for you at this point is, are you comfortable with the current graphic and how it conveys the essence, graphically, of the definition of social marketing that we as a board previously embraced? The graphic, when can you?
And so with that, we take a look at this graphic. And Bijou, I'd like you to take a close look at this on the paper, hopefully, that you got, since you can't see this online.
I know.
And to jumpstart the input coming out of last night's call, three things. One, general support, and in fact, among some, enthusiasm for the graphic. Item number one. Item number two, recognition of the need for the colors in the symbols to match and complement the iSMA colors and brand. And three, the strong suggestion that the wording, the typeface of social marketing influencing behaviors for good should be the same font, the same typeface as is present with the iSMA brand itself. Mm-hmm. So other thoughts, good, bad, or indifferent, other recommendations for how we might continue to evolve this?
I like it. It's good, yeah. That silence is thinking, not having an opinion.
Other thoughts?
I like the changes that were made since the last time we looked at it. I think it's more inclusive, and
agreed.
Each of the icons is more clear as to what it's representing. So I like it.
I think even I like it. I think last time that health, I think we had different this time I think it's looking good.
Yeah. I mean, another issue that was raised last night, just so there's full awareness, one member of the board wondered aloud if the intent behind this was to, in effect, have the visual hammer replace the existing iSMA logo. That is not the intent. The intent is that it complements the iSMA logo. It graphically depicts core content of the definition of social marketing that we embraced, but that it is created as a visual hammer, in Nancy's term, a logo that can be widely used when and if appropriate to graphically capture the essence of what social marketing and the international movement in support of social marketing is all about.
In that case, it'd be good to see the font sort of matching, most noticeably probably the I.
Right. That's already been suggested, and I that was a general agreement last night with the board members.
Is it possible to also match the font colors, or rather the photo colors?
Yeah, the photo colors will be synced to complement the colors that are otherwise used in the iSMA branding.
Yeah, we've already sent the Pantone and RGB and hex color and the fonts to the volunteers who are helping to design it.
Yeah, I kind of like the font that's in the Visual Hammer more than I like the font in the logo. So is there any possibility to match, to update the logo to match this new hammer rather than the other way around?
No one's asked that yet. What do other people think?
The little case eye. I like the little case eye from the other one, but otherwise I prefer the sort of rounded, non-sharp edges. Yeah.
I share this opinion. Yes. And when you were saying that you sent the graphic charter about the colors and the font to those who helped designing, I didn't receive anything. Okay. But
Did you help design it?
Yes. Huda and her colleagues have played a part in the creation in recent weeks.
Oh, I thought it was Natalie who was doing it only. So, okay, I'll make sure that you get it, Huda, as well. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because actually she's not here, but I would like really to thank Zoya, who is here, a young volunteer Jordanian, who helped in shaping up, the icon of the vaccination, for example, and helping with the colors. Yes, and in
fact, one might even suggest that she was a real shot in the arm for moving us ahead.
Boy. Yeah, and me without my my snare drum.
All right. Well, not meaning to cut off conversation, but if there's general agreement that this is it needs refinements, but it is generally acceptable, that would be greatly appreciated. And again, Nancy and I and others who are involved in it understand that we then need to do the thoughtful work about how do we introduce it in addition to evolving it. How do we then introduce it and promote its use in a way that's going to be helpful to iSMA, but which may also be of value to people, practitioners in the field more broadly.
Just one question. I was expecting there to be more questions about the way that we spell behaviors from our international group, but I didn't hear it. It's interesting.
That's a good point. Yes.
Oh, how embarrassing for me.
Yeah. What's up with that? You didn't see it as a problem?
I just didn't notice it.
Yeah. I think in India
my preference would be the other spelling, but I'd rather use the Queen's English, as much as that pains me to say.
I mean, for an international organization, though, we have not yet really adopted either the Queen's English or the American language. So, I mean, we go back and forth, I know, on that. So, okay, I might bring that up later on. Well,
then I'm of a mind, anyone who's insistent that we introduce you into behavior also has to raise their hand to be considered as a future officer. If you matter in the word and the spelling of behavior, you matter in the leadership of iSMA going forward.
Wow. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
So be careful, David.
Okay. Okay, well, that was interesting for me. Okay. Then there was another point. We're gonna take that information back and we'll follow up online. But then I think Tom, did you have an update on the Pacific Northwest Social Marketing Association?
I did. I'm Nancy's designated driver here this morning or this afternoon. As has already been mentioned, the Northwest or the Pacific Northwest Social Marketing Association is once again setting an enviable pace. They will be holding their 4th annual one-day conference here in Seattle, or there in Seattle, on December 14th, as we were told just a few moments ago. In addition, and Emily, speak up if I get any of this wrong, since you're directly involved in it. The association will be installing a display at the Washington State Capitol. I think that display will be installed for a 3-month period beginning in January. It will be in 4 locations in the state Capitol building, and it will make social marketing and its evidence of its success across issues and across the geography of the state of Washington come to life. I think it really is an exceptional example of a group of people, Emily and Nancy among them, who are intent to suggest to policymakers that social marketing has both realized and proven benefit, but even broader applications to issues over time. Also of good news, the association continues to grow its membership. There are 129 members, 5 new members in September and October, and as was referenced in Jay's membership report, there now has become an official affiliation between the Pacific Northwest Social Marketing Association of iSMA, and 10% of the dues that are paid for the local association will now accrue to iSMA. This is in the context of the provision that the board voted to approve, which allows for local social marketing associations to exist and be affiliated with iSMA in the absence of a state or regional social marketing association. So this little tenacious group out in the Pacific Northwest are doing tremendous work, and I think we should all applaud Emily and her colleagues for their success.
So noted, so recorded. Mm-hmm. Any questions on this? If none, then I'll ask Samir, how's academic member outreach and recruitment going? I know you were taking a bit of a sabbatical. Are you back on the horse yet? Samir's not here, so we can't talk about that. Craig's no longer here, so we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think for the record that Samir has needed to step down from that role. There is now a new lead on the academic recruitment effort. I'm not sure top of mind who that person is. It's not an existing board member.
Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to move. I'd like to move forward to one additional item before Tom takes over. Again, for frequency and schedule, and this is about the question of guest speakers. And we still have 22 minutes, so I'd like to encourage a little bit more discussion than we were able to have yesterday about this. Craig Lefay had suggested that as part of our future board calls that we invite people from large organizations such as World Bank or World Health Organization, or basically international organizations like this, UNICEF, which use social marketing, to come and to give us a briefing about what they're doing, and also to sit in and listen to what we're doing as part of board calls. Yesterday there was general approval for that idea. although there was some concern about how much time that might take up from board calls. And so that will, I think, lead into the frequency and schedule of board calls, which Tom's going to talk about. I will add, though, that after having heard the discussion about that, one of the things I thought about was the possibility of having an additional part of a webinar series in which the World Health Organization or the UNICEF or World Bank or PAHO or other organizations who are taking the lead in social marketing activities be invited to give a briefing on what they're doing in social marketing. And it could be something in which they would be presenting to a group of the board of directors in an online panel discussion or review where we as board members who are experts in social marketing might comment and ask questions, but it would be something that could be recorded and then shared with our membership later on to say, if you want to know what's really going on with the World Bank and social marketing, you can tune into this briefing from the World Bank. So I thought of that as a possible opportunity, for having guest speakers as well without interrupting our future board calls. I'd like to hear what people think of these ideas.
Well, if I could supplement what you said, I think the idea you brought to the table this morning is a very good one. But not surprisingly, one of the motivations behind bringing these institutional guest speakers either to the board or to the seminar series was to cultivate their awareness and support for iSMA, and hopefully to build bridges and build connections that could, in time, translate into their active financial support of iSMA, either through projects or in other ways.
So I agree. So I guess the question is, what if we could, as they say in America, kill two birds with one stone, so that we could invite those guest speakers, and that we could increase the length of the board call and put in a slot then for those guest speakers to have time to present, and also to then to listen into our board call, participate in our board call, all of which would be recorded. And then we would slice off that part where they're doing a presentation and have that available for members, and then the rest would be only available to board members.
I think it's a nice idea. I mean, I love the idea of bringing in outside perspectives to give us more to think about, and I think it would definitely be a value add for the members to hear how some of these big organizations are actually using social
Would you
marketing.
do it at every meeting, or what would be the frequency of it?
Tom?
Yes?
What do you think? I mean, you're the one who's been organizing the board meetings, and that ties into the frequency and schedule question.
Yeah.
How would you respond
and
to that?
maybe we should blend the discussion of the two. Here again, in last night's call, when there was a discussion about our schedule of board calls for next year, for 2016, the starting point for that discussion was our bylaw requirement that we have quarterly calls. The group last night was of the belief that there would be value in our having more calls, not necessarily longer calls, but having more calls in order to build momentum, provide opportunity for more thoughtful and extended discussion of issues, including at least occasionally guest speakers. And so the consensus coming out of the first part of this board call was having board calls at least every other month. So having no less than 6 as opposed to 4, and we could reserve several of those for dedicated board calls in the business of iSMA, and others would provide the platform for either in-depth discussion of issues or projects and or bringing in guest speakers. Or both of the above.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I mean, I would love to log into a meeting and be able to listen to some of these guest speakers, see what people are doing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, I think that it establishes us as well, someone agrees with me, but it establishes us as, really the experts and, the thought leaders that we really are in social marketing. And it gives us the opportunity to really question and discuss, not just iSMA business, but social marketing in general with people who are doing this kind of work, so that we can. Yeah. I think everybody wins with this. I think, Tom, though I don't think that we would want to do it every meeting. I would think that we would try to do it every second meeting if we were meeting every 2 months.
Yeah, I personally agree, and I think that those who joined the call last night would be of the same. It's not every meeting. It's a guest slot from time to time, but it's done strategically in order to foster relationships that will matter to iSMA and to the broader and more effective application of social marketing. Does anybody feel it's a bad idea, or are we sort of all on the same page? It is a good idea. It just needs to be structured and handled in a way that's going to be effective and appropriate. So.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It's a very good idea.
Logistics of it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And what about the idea of introducing into our formal schedule some additional calls next year? They need not be as dense nor as long, but in order to keep things moving, to foster momentum, to provide ample opportunity for input and driving progress. I mean, are people open to the idea of finding time in their busy schedules and lives for at least 2 additional formal calls of the board? The requirement, let me observe, the requirement, the bylaw requirement would only be that all board members are expected to participate in the quarterly calls. These other calls, if they are scheduled, we would hope everyone would join them, but we would not necessarily expect that everyone could or would choose to.
I think I like the idea. Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
With ASM, we have a meeting every month, but it's probably an hour long.
Yeah. I do. I personally, this is my personal opinion, not necessarily shared.
Mm-hmm.
I do think some more frequent contact would be useful to generating some critical mass of engagement and progress. I don't want to make this too laborious and too burdensome, but I think we need to pick up some speed as best we can.
I agree with that.
Some technical questions to people who are on here about that. Huda, you have used ReadyTalk, right, with us?
Yes.
And you've been as a co-presenter, and we've shared screens and everything. So that's worked for you?
It worked very well.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
you may not be aware that we can enable webcams, by the way, on this. So we actually can add webcams in so you can see people. Cheryl, when you're a technical question to you, Cheryl, when you're having your board meetings, do you meet by telephone or do you meet by webcam?
Oh, we just do it by phone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you don't share.
No webcam at all.
Okay.
No, it's not as structured or organized. We just go through the agenda, basically.
Okay. And David, when you are meeting with iSMA, do you meet in person? Do you meet by telephone? How do you meet?
We just use Skype.
And
there's only 6 of us, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Emily, when the Pacific Northwest is meeting, do you meet by Skype?
We generally meet just by phone monthly, but then periodically we meet in person once a year. We also have quarterly forums, which most of the board members attend as possible, that rotate around the Seattle area, all the way down to the Capitol and Olympia. So it somewhat depends, but we're luckily able to either meet in person or just over the phone.
And as a follow-up to that, is anybody familiar with Google Talk or Google Hangouts?
No.
I've used it. Me.
Colleagues who are.
Who is?
When I have used it because I speak to my colleagues in Chicago office on the Google Talk, and it works.
Do you use Google Hangouts as well?
Yeah. Google Hangouts.
Okay.
Sorry, I did no Google Hangouts. Sorry.
Okay, so all right. Okay, well that's good information. We do have a donated service by Google in which we can use what we're doing right now that's costing us hundreds of dollars a month, that we can switch to, that would allow us to do the same thing for free, both by phone and over video. So I'll prepare a brief on that as another alternative. Okay, so just thanks. I wanted to know the awareness level, which I now know. So,
and when in closing out the discussion of future board calls, just an affirmation or evidence that this idea of, for the quarterly calls, having 2 parts to the call in order to accommodate geographic and time differences, I think we assume it is working better for people, despite the need among some of us to be up in the middle of the night. Is there any issue or any need to reconsider our current approach, which is calls scheduled over a 2-day period in order to accommodate time differences?
It's fine for me. The only thing it would be nice if it was mixed up in such a way that we got a different mix of board members on each call, if you know what I mean. Because I feel like there are some people that I will never meet if they're always in the other call.
Okay, we can test the idea of maybe some different time frames and that might allow for a different sort of mix and match, if you will. And I'll pursue that.
You can randomly assign people. Okay. Also, do remember, Also, do remember that we record these calls, and with the minutes, we do send out a link to the recording. So that's also a good way to get to know your board members, even if you're just listening to them interact, on another call.
Sounds like my social life at high school win.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so
when I think maybe for the first time ever, we are perhaps making it through the agenda within the time that's allocated. I will just observe, for what it's worth, there were a couple elements that we skipped over. There was an additional set of priority projects that maybe you might want to make an observation or two about: the so-called iSMA exchange, the social marketing course listing, and the development of the association development guidelines.
Yes, surely. The exchange, the resource exchange is Emily Sanford has graciously offered to be the champion of this. Thank you, Emily.
Although I've done very little on it so far. You're welcome.
And she's done very little on it so far. But no, seriously, what we're doing is we are testing out different possible platforms for the rebuilding of the resource exchange. We're considering different free and different donated and paid solutions to building a resource exchange. The key question that we have on our minds is how important is it to have the database platform be able to index every word in every document as opposed to just the listed title and description of the document. The difference being if we agree that we need to be able to index every word of every document in the database, then the cost related to doing that skyrockets. If we agree that we can start with a database which only indexes the titles of documents we're going to put up, then we can start very quickly and move forward, and the cost will be minimal. Any comments or questions on that? Good. Okay. If not, then Emily and I are working on this, and we'll give a report to the board as we move forward with this. We also have another project, which is the course listings project. That is, Niederweinrich is gathering the names of social marketing courses that are available both online and offline throughout the world. And I think she was saying that she should have a list by March. Is that right, Tom? I think it was March, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what was the third one then?
The third one was the Association Development Guidelines, and I believe, and when you check me on this, that Jay and a volunteer have initiated the drafting of these guidelines. The intent is to build upon the experience both in Australia and Europe as well as here with iSMA to develop guidelines to foster the creation of more either country-specific or regional social marketing associations going forward. Again, our long-range plan for iSMA assumes that we are a catalyst for creating more localized social marketing professional associations that in turn choose to affiliate with us and build both our profession and our network. So I believe the intent is to have a draft of those guidelines available for the board to review, I think, by spring of 2016.
Yeah, and lest we forget, last but not least, David McElroy is it McElroy or McElroy?
McElroy.
Okay. David McElroy, that's the American. David McElroy took on the championship of a project to develop a ethics statements.
Dominic.
Left.
Ethics statements for social marketing. Unfortunately, there was some when we first built or suggested that project. When it was first suggested, it was conceived of as developing a statement of ethics for social marketers in general. And when David took over, we didn't communicate that clearly. So David moved ahead and took on the business of having an ethics statement for the board of directors of iSMA. And also I think you also developed a data privacy policy, right, David? A draft
yes,
for that?
Yes.
Yeah. Those of you who've been on the discussion on email
Joined.
realize that there was a disconnect in communication there, but we all agreed that both of those projects are very important. So if I understand correctly, David, you have agreed to take on both parts of that project. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think Judy is going to join me on that as well, but I'll let her decide that for sure.
And we've already had several people send in to you examples of ethics statements or professional codes of conduct from other organizations. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I didn't get a chance to say, but that I wanted to make sure that we say is that while the American Association for the American Marketing Association one is quite good, that it's really important that we collect the codes of conduct and ethics from a range of different countries so that we're developing something that is useful for international. So all of us who know of codes of conduct or ethics statements from marketing or social work professional organizations, please send those to David or send them to the directors list so that we can make sure that we're looking at this globally and not just locally.
Yeah, cheers.
And thank you very much,
David. And being the timekeeper, we have approached that magical moment where theoretically this meeting is about to end. So in addition to thanking Jennifer and Hager Sharp for their huge contribution to iSMA, what more would you like to say?
Are you asking me or Jennifer?
No, you win. I mean,
yeah.
As the
That's
chair,
right.
the president, you have the closing remarks. So.
That's what I thought.
If Jennifer wants to say something about her generous contribution, that would be great. But
you all are just so funny.
Well, okay. All right. So I'd like to thank you all for participating today. Thank you for your thoughtful discussions and your suggestions. This was a productive meeting, and I'm so glad, particularly that Cheryl Leo was able to join us. Cheryl, thank you for your active contributions.
Thank you.
And thank you for your active listening as well.
And it's the middle of the night. Let us not forget.
Yes. It's time I have to go too.
Thanks to each and every one of you. We now conclude today's what is it? It's not webinar. It is. We now conclude today's board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, Cheryl.
Thank you.